Wait, what? I don't even know if I'm live. Hold on, bro. It's not even showing that I'm live. It's not even showing that I'm live. Dog, I swear for God, bro. I swear for God. If somebody here, just give me a second, cause I use. Hold on, real quick. So, shout out to whoever watching, man. I promise you, bro.
You ugly motherfucker.
I promise you. So, for those who don't know, matter of fact, hold on, cause I'm gonna just show y'all something. So normally, I do got it on me. So, um, where is it at? Okay, so just so y'all don't know, if you don't stream, what it used to be, unless this is an update, because I was streaming off an older PC, an older laptop. So you have OBS and then you have the YouTube browser that you actually click go live from. You have to go to OBS and click start streaming and then go to your YouTube, the dashboard, and then click go live to actually be live. So now since I got this laptop and I guess it's a updated OBS or whatever like that. I don't even know how long it's been like this. But anyway, I can show y'all. So over here, oh, I'm in the way. So over here, as you can see, it say start streaming, and then the broadcast. So normally what'll happen is I have to click stream and then go to YouTube, drop over here, go to YouTube, and then click go live right here. This button ain't even here. And this still doing this as if it's waiting for me to stream. I'm thinking I gotta wait to stream. I'm glad I didn't do some wild shit, cause I'd have just been on the internet wilding out. But I know I'm live cause I see it on my phone. But bruh, this YouTube shit, man. And I understand why they have YouTubers have somebody else handle this shit. Cause I don't want to have to worry about logging on, logging off, logging on, logging off, reading chat and doing things like that. And then you got YouTubers be having donations and then all these switches and stuff like that. I got a stream deck that handles that, and even that's like glitchy because that can like for all of a sudden when I press buttons and shit like that,
You ugly motherfucker.
I could press a button and instead of me getting the audio cue, it'll just stop playing. And I'm like, anyway, but I don't even know why that did that. Anyway, Hold on. So I'm gonna go. We finna go. We finna do this stream, and shout out to everybody who's gonna watch this. But it was something that I did want to talk about. Um, is the job stuff. So I work at a company. Um, I work for Amazon, right? And so I'm not in a corporate office, of course. I mean, I wouldn't mind being in a corporate office, but anyway, they're laying off a whole bunch of corporate people. But I just wanted to get into this video just so y'all can see like stuff going on in the world and we
It's
could talk
getting
about
harder
it.
to find work in the United States. In August, businesses added just 22,000 new jobs.
That's actually quite a weak number. Looking at that in isolation, that would actually be a
Job in the United States. In August,
Make sure you like, comment, subscribe when y'all
businesses
see the,
added just
the video too.
22,000 new jobs.
that's
So in August, in 1 month, the country only got 22,000 jobs. Now, I call cap on this because literally a job can be anything. So when you hear the word job, to me, I think W-2. I think somebody who gets a regular paycheck. But when you look up what constitutes a job, it could be a job opportunity. So anybody, if we had 22,000 more people do DoorDash, that constitutes a job. And so that's the reason why I say, and I write this in my book that I'm working on, statistics mean absolutely nothing. Because the metric in which you judge something matters most. So, there's a very common phrase in this space and stuff like that called container words, meaning a word that you can kind of, it means anything. It doesn't mean one exact thing. And so I look at stats the very same way. And I'll give you an example of container word. So the container word love, when you hear the word love, to one person it means always telling me you love me. To another person it means buying me a gift. To another person it means doing something special for me. All of those definitions are wrapped up in one word called love. It's a container word, right? So I look at stats the very same way. You could say the stat says 22,000 jobs, but when you look up what constitutes a job is another container word. If we have 22,000 more people do DoorDash, does that constitute a job? If it's 10,000 people do some Airbnb shit, or they renting out, they doing retail arbitrage, does that constitute a job? Like, what constitutes a job? That's the important, like, once I started realizing, like, people have definitions for things, but they're so loose. And the reason that they're loose is because they can throw anything else in there. Like love. Like, if I love you, I have to always say I'm sorry to you. No, that doesn't mean that I love you. Or if I love you, I have to give you gifts. That doesn't mean I love you. You see what I'm saying? People can just use a word to mean whatever they want. They can just throw it in a bag, a container. And these job reports are the same way. A job. What is a job? Is a job a W-2 job? Is the job DoorDash? Is the job being a janitor? Is the job part-time? See, they just said 22,000 jobs. Did they constitute full-time or part-time? Did they say whether it was temporary work? Was it a contract job? Did they say this was private sector or this is public job? Like, they didn't just say nothing. They just say jobs. Is this remote jobs or going to the office jobs? It's just, so I really wanted to just go through this whole video because I saw like a part of it, and there's another channel I like that's got a great video on it too. But with all these things happening, food, like the food stamp stuff going away, all these jobs, people are like losing jobs. I showed you the one video maybe a month ago of the guy saying where he lives, he tried to do DoorDash, and the DoorDash, he signed up for DoorDash on the app, and they said we have too many people doing it, so he can't even do it. So I say all that to say this, man. Make sure y'all take care of yourself. Y'all do what y'all have to do for yourself financially. Like me in my personal situation, like I've been on the sideline with the illness for a while, and I'm not like jumping back into the workforce because I do have a job, but I'm going back to work. I was on a medical leave. But with that being said, and a lot of to anybody who has like doubts or anything like that, we was streaming yesterday and I was talking to what's his name? Was it Evil Eddie? Evil Eddie was telling me he works in IT, and I was telling him, bro, do content of some sort. You ain't got to do this type content. You ain't got to do the love content. You ain't got to do whatever content. Create a course. I'm writing a book. My wife has written a book. Um, I have business things that I'm trying to work. Like, it is so important that you do these things for yourself financially, especially in a time like now, because EBT and all this the food stamp stuff is going away. There's so many more people here in the country with like immigration and shit like that. So you may not even get a chance to get a job. So you have to kind of create a job. And it's the same with content creation. You know, hopefully my content it's going to evolve, of course, when times happen. But um, I hope that it can bring in financial, I hope it can be a financial position for me, because that's not ultimately why I'm doing it. I'm ultimately doing it because this is more my personality, and I'm breaking out of my shell. But it's important that I tell people with stuff like this, and you see like 22,000 jobs and stuff like that, don't rely on the job. And this is something I had talked to my friends with long time ago. I was telling them, bro, I started making content. They was trying to clown me, bro, like making content. I said, bro, you think this you think this 9 to 5 shit is gonna be here 24/7? It's not, bruh. It's not. And I know you don't work in this sector or that sector. I know you don't have this type of job. I know you're not at this pay scale. I know all these things about you, but don't think that you can't get clipped. You know what I mean? You can get hit. Don't think you're invincible. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, let's get into it.
Actually, quite a
Make
weak
sure you
number.
hit the like button, man.
You ugly motherfucker.
I don't know who that is watching my content. Hit that like button.
You ugly
Looking at
motherfucker.
that in isolation, that would actually be a lot more consistent with the start of a recession, historically.
Gone are the days of 200,000 jobs every month. We're likely to be in an environment where job growth is hovering around zero, essentially.
The U.S.
Right there. With all this AI stuff going on, man, bro, I was always thinking it. I was always like acting on my own, like in my own way to get to this stuff. But bro, I mean, he just said it like eventually it's going to get to a point where you have to create for yourself. You can't just rely on a 9 to 5. I know like you're going to have to work a 9 to 5 and to get money coming in. But if you don't multiply your money, you got to do something to multiply your money. And investing in all that stuff, I guess, is a good avenue. Even buying a home. Like I would tell people, if you're gonna buy a home, buy a rental home. I'm in a home, a single family home, and I didn't want a single family home, but that's a whole nother shit show. You know what I mean? I wanted a rental property for this exact reason. Wanted a rental property, and I'm hoping that in the future I can get into a rental property. It would have been a damn blessing if I had a rental property right now. I don't, but like I said, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But thinking this just I'm gonna go to work and come home, or I'm gonna go to work and no matter what job you got, it don't matter what job you got. You could be a doctor, a lawyer, it doesn't matter. You can get clipped and get left out here in the dust like everybody else. You know what I mean?
U.S. labor market is worse than previously thought. Less than half of the people polled by the New York Fed say they could find a new job if they lost their current one.
Downside risks to employment are rising. And if those risks materialize, they can do so quickly in the form of sharply higher layoffs and rising unemployment.
The Federal Reserve can give businesses more confidence to hire workers by adjusting the federal funds rate. The Fed is lowering this key interest rate as companies navigate changes on trade, immigration, and inflation.
Now here, I'm no, again, hold on, let me
I'm not sitting here saying I know. I don't know, but I know you don't know either, bitch ass nigga.
Again, I was just talking about a value and a metric. So it's what somebody values and then the metric in which they judge that value, basically. He just said that they can inspire companies to like grow and stuff like that by lowering their interest rate, by making it easier for them to get money, which I don't quite understand that as a I understand it on face value, but it doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, I'm looking at the long term things, right? If you make it easier for somebody to use a system, right? Like you make it easier for somebody to get money, you essentially create a dependent. Like you don't make it harder, you don't make it harder, you don't help that person gain up. You know, it's like taking when you put food in somebody's mouth, you just fix them for that moment. You actually create a dependent person. This is the reason why I believe like food stamps and all that is going away. I'm not saying I want it to go away because there are people who are in fucked up situations, for lack of a better word, who depend on it and need it. Yes. But what I'm saying is, if you're going to spoon feed people with food stamps and then take it away, you just made them dependent. If you're going to spoon feed a company to give them access to money, you're going to create them dependent upon your access to money, their access to money. What I mean by that is, let's just use Walmart, right? If you made it easier for Walmart to get money, and then Walmart takes that money and then tricks it off, I don't know, putting up stores all over the damn country like they have for however long, then you make them dependent on getting that same source of money to keep the lights on. Coincidentally, when they put all these Walmarts in different areas, you then make the people who work at Walmart dependent upon Walmart to keep their lights on. So much so that the people under them, when, you know, because me and my wife both work, we work in two different industries. When you have us working at a place, getting money, and then using that money to take care of our kids, you make us dependent upon that system. But that system is dependent upon continual money. Now, here's the big overarching question is, okay, if the kids are relying on the parents and the parents are relying on the job and the job is relying on the industry and the industry is relying on banks' access to them, where do banks get the money from? Because if it's a downstream effect like an assembly line, like money goes down to everybody else, well, who feeds the money into the government? I understand it on face value. I just don't understand why nobody could think of it this way, even way back 200 years ago. Because the moment you go to help somebody, you're truly not. Shout out to CJ. He played clips of, but I always thought it, but I never quite understood it. And this is the reason why like I had friends. I grew up right. I dealt in I dipped and dabbled in like the street shit in every facet. But I was always smart enough not to go too overboard on it. But I had people that I knew were dependent upon being that way, or they thought it in their brain to always be that way. I never was that type of person. I was always an independent person, an independent thinker. I'ma always break off and go do my own thing. And so now I just see it with friends and stuff like that, and family members, where they get so dependent upon a system or something happening, and they never really question what happens if it cuts off, if they're separated from it, for one, and two, like, how long is it even feasible for that they are still being taken care of? You know what I mean? And just hearing the guy say that, like, who feeds into the government? So when the government spanks the or whips the damn workers to take money out of their check, they're essentially taking money out of their. So the government takes money out of my check to give to a industry so they can keep the lights on so I can go to that same fucking job. You see the circle? And this is happening with millions and billions and trillions of dollars. And it never made sense to me. This is why I always said, like, if you're in this is my only thing I'm gonna talk on the religious part of it. If you're in this world, um everything outside of doing it like God's way or whatever like that is dealing with this system and enabling it. So this is everybody from your quote unquote Christian person who has a job and shit like that, you're still interacting with this thievish, devilish, crazy system. And it's literally using you, using other people, and then eventually it causes you to corrupt yourself, and where you have to use other people too. You know what I mean? And it's just a circle of doom. But the only true way, and this is why I always said the only true way to be outside of it or not to be affected by it is you have to disengage from it all. Not one bit, not you can't keep one bit of it like the Amish do. But the Amish, they live on their land, or like the Indians do, they live on their land. They live by themselves. They have their own rules, ethics, morals. They have their sense of family. However they do that, I don't know how they do that, but I always said the Amish are like the last true group of God's people, because they're the only ones who are gonna live. And I don't know how they truly live, so let me not say that. But I'm just saying, from the outside looking in, they're the only true people that don't engage with the system at all. They do it kind of all in house, and that's the beauty in what they got going on. But that's the only real way to live, because any other way you live outside of that, you're going to be tied to this system where everybody's got to go to work, everybody's got a 9 to 5, and then they're going to be whipping you to take money from you to give to a bank. That bank's going to lend it to your industry, whatever company you work in, your industry gets that money from the industry, and that's how you keep your lights on. And that's literally the fucking hamster wheel. You're running on a hamster wheel. They're taking from you, goes to the government, goes to a bank, goes to your industry, and then goes to your employer. Because you don't work for, unless you work in banking, but you don't work for the government. The government is just shuffling cards 24/7. And it's just it's crazy that nobody see it this way. But that's why I say, like, I always felt these things and like thought this way. I didn't really speak on shit like this. But now I notice when I speak this shit out, like, there's people here and there that everybody that I ever spoken, like, talk like this or like mention these things to, they always mention like, damn, I never really thought of it like that. But I was just always of the opinion, like, this never even made sense. But anyway.
Holding back because they're both trying to see what the tariffs will be, what the effect of the tariffs will be. And inside of that is what happens to their profit margins.
They're willing to deal with the uncertainty, but they need to react to that. And so part of that is just being very prudent in how they're hiring.
Why are jobs disappearing? And can the Fed do anything to bring them back?
No.
The slowdown in hiring is most potent for younger workers.
We're seeing a lot of pressure on the younger generation when it comes to this labor market. We're seeing many firms facing higher imported costs, and they are, in many cases, struggling with the cost of talent in a high interest rate environment. The tech space, the finance space, the professional and business services space are sectors that are under more pressure, and they are the ones that generally are big hirers of younger cohorts.
See, again, like I was just saying, the tech space, financial space, business, professional space, right? All these 9 to 5 corporate people, which is fine. I'm not dissing them. It's a real job and it's a career, and shout out to them for these are highly educated people. Some of them have extreme soft skills and extreme logic and math skills and shit like that. I'm not cracking down. I'm not laughing about them, but what I'm saying is, the fact that they're the ones, man, it's just crazy to think, like, you need these people to keep the lights on, yet you can't get enough money from the government to pay these people because the government keeps taxing the same people. You know what I mean? It's just like a weird triangle. But it's funny that a government, and this is why they say, like, there's no true red or blue or whatever. Like, I don't really care about that. I don't believe anybody in a suit telling me he's really trying to do something to help me. Because I know that you're only really going to do something to help yourself, for one. Two, if I'm benefited by you helping yourself, you're cool with it. You know what I mean? But man, it's just crazy to think, you know, the government needs to pull more taxes from people because they need to give money to banks so that the banks can lend this money to employers so these employers can sell things to the same people that work for them, or customers. Employees are customers too. It's so bad that then now the government is like, well, we're taxing our people out the yin yang, so how about we start taxing another country? And that's the craziest shit about it. They just gonna tax China. And China is the one making all the shit that comes into our country. It's funny as hell, man. This shit is just goofy. So you're taxing the employee. The government is taxing the employee hard, taking that money, giving it to a bank, and that bank divvies it out to industries, and the industries divvy it out to employers that give that money right back to the employee. That system is so rigged and fucked up, and there's no more blood out of the turnip you can get from the employee, that now they're going to start taxing other countries. So now we're going to tax China. But this shit is just, it's goofiness all around. Goofiness all around. All around goofiness. And this is why I never was like a person that say red or blue. I don't believe any politician at all. Because I know that most politicians, if you look up what most politicians got their start in, they start off in sales. So, and anybody who's really good with words and really good convincing people is a part of sales. They do a form of sales, and there's no diss with sales. Sales, you can make a literal shit ton of money doing sales, especially if you can get into high ticket sales or like tech sales or something like that. Like you can sell, dude. If you really are good with like convincing people and negotiating shit like that, you can sell salt to a slug. Literally. I'll prove to you how good sales are. There's a guy, I don't know his last name. I know his first name was Steve or Steven. I think he lived in California. He made a pet rock company. That's right, pet rocks. He went to wherever in California and got all these cute little intricate looking rocks. Just rocks. Put them in a box with a little card about how to love your rock, how to pet your rock, how to play with your rock. And he put a basic little cardboard box. And he sold, I don't know how long he had the company, but he sold 40 million of these rocks. A fucking rock he sold to kids, adults, everybody. I'm not going to go in on who bought it, but I'm just saying everybody bought a rock in a box with a paper about how to love your rock and feed your rock. Have you ever personally fed a rock? And he sold $40 million of those rocks. Now, when I tell you sales is a skill to have, if a man can sell rocks to human beings, then you can make a shit ton of money doing sales. And that's why I say politicians get their start in sales. This is the same way lawyers work. That's why they always say they're practicing law. Because they're not really doing law. They have rules, but they break and they bend the rules left and right. 24/7. So politicians get their start in sales. That's why they're so good with convincing and smiling in front of people. So this is the same reason why they say pimps. Pimps are the same way. They real slick with their words, and they're real people who can talk you out of your situation. Talk you into doing something that truly benefits them. So it is what it is. But when it comes to sales, like you can make a shit ton of money doing sales. That's why I meant to say that. Just I'm saying that when it comes to why I don't believe politicians, because the salesman will tell you fucking anything to get you on the dotted line. And they'll get sneakier and funnier and wittier and cooler, and they'll dap you up, and they'll make you seem like they'll make it seem like they're your friend. Meanwhile, they're getting you on a contract that serves them and not you. And I'm not mad at the hustle. Like, I realize it, like, everybody's out here hustling. Some dudes are on the block selling drugs. Some dudes are trying to rap. Some dudes are trying to be professional ballers. Some dudes are trying to make a business. We are all trying to make something out of nothing. But for the ones who are real slick with the words, they can make a shit ton of money. Shit ton of money.
College graduates typically have better job prospects than the overall labor force.
Who that watching the live, man? Drop a comment, man.
You ugly motherfucker.
I think I know who you are, too. Why don't you stop being lame and drop a comment, man?
So,
come on, bro.
Fuck!
You just gonna sit there and watch my live and not say nothing, man? Matter of fact, hold on. I thought I could do something there, man.
Historically, they have lower unemployment levels too. That trend reversed starting in 2022.
The United States has been suffering from a series of rolling recessions. Pockets of industries or industries themselves that have gone through their own downturns, whether it was manufacturing or consumer goods, it just hasn't bubbled up to the broader economy. I would put the youth employment situation squarely in that category right now.
The high-paying information sector is flashing warning signs too. Software developer roles for workers in their 20s are down sharply since 2022.
There you go. And now you have the automation. So now you have companies like Base 44, the other one, Claude. I know you have Replit. Where now it used to be. So if you're anywhere in your 30s, you remember, or like let's say you 37 and up, you remember MySpace and Black Planet. So you used to be able to have like a website that you can kind of customize with little themes, and you can download these themes and stuff like that and put on your website. Now we went into Shopify where you just go to the platform, pay the platform, and then customize your thing. Now, now you can use that to sell your goods. Now we don't even need to use that. Now we just have websites or platforms where you can go on, type all your shit out, how you want it to look, what you want it to do, and it can print you out the code, and you can use that as your code base for a software thing. So where you would need to learn how to use web development and stuff like that to get a website sprung up, now you don't need to. You just need to go to a platform, input all the information, all the stuff like that, and then it gives you out something you want. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the internet 2.0, because when the internet first came out way back, I don't know way back when, but when most people got the internet, like the late 90s, early 2000s, like it was a brand new thing. Like most people had to dial up, and then that's when all the .com stuff happened. All the little websites that ain't here today, that have came and gone. Now it's so rapid, it's to the point where if you on Instagram, I know you see all them Sora, you see them them AI videos with, I seen the AI videos with MLK. You see the AI videos with all these Tupac and Biggie. I seen the Tupac with Mr. Rogers sitting and smoking weed. Like, bruh, we're hyper going into like tech, and there's just going to be no people that we can't take everybody what is going into tech. And I'm not saying we, like I'm part of these niggas, you know what I mean? When I say I don't include me. I'm saying just technology in general is what I'm saying. So we can't take all these people with us. We're going into this tech world, and we seen it in the movies. Like, if y'all haven't seen Total Recall, the latest one, cool. But think about all the fucking movies that we've seen just over the years where they like they're telling us like this shit is coming. I don't know when. I'm 37, so I think like when it really gets here, I'll either be dead and gone or about dead. So another 50 years, like we about to have, it's about to be crazy. Now you can have whole websites in a matter of hours. A whole website that takes user information, stores it. It has its own repository, and like you can manage all that. Like a whole website up in hours. We can do that with video. We can have a whole video off a prompt saying, I want Donald Trump dapping up, you know what I mean, Christopher Columbus, you know, and them passing a blunt back and forth. We can literally have a video like that, you know, in a couple, maybe an hour or so, cause all the processing and shit like that. But here we go, man. We going into this new age, and it's unfortunate, but all these ideas of jobs and shit like that. That's why I said, in order to go far in life, it's not what you have to add to. You have to literally subtract. So we have to subtract all these ideas of us living a certain way, all these ideas of us having all these fucking amenities and things like that. Like I always told my homie growing up, I was like, bruh, he thought he needed, he was always like, man, I gotta get this better job and shit like that. And getting a better job, more income, that is beautiful. You know, that's what I want everybody to get. But I said, bruh, you be gambling. Nigga, you would have so much more money if you just stopped gambling. You see what I'm saying? Like, when you subtract gambling, you don't need a second job, bruh. You ain't gotta complain to me while we smoking a blunt off of, we smoking weed, and you sitting here whining and complaining about you gotta get another job, bruh. You just gotta stop going to casinos. You see what I'm saying? You have to subtract. You ain't gotta add. You subtract things, and then boom, you get better. You know what I mean? When you subtract eating all this fat ass food and things like that, you subtract that out of your life. Suddenly your health gets better. See what I'm saying?
Young marketing and sales managers are having trouble getting hired as well. That said, younger workers are finding jobs in the health and retail sectors at a relatively fast pace.
We know that companies are turning to technology and AI to figure out if they can maybe stomach some of those costs or bring some of those costs down without having to hire somebody, at least initially.
AI is very new. The capabilities of it.
See, it's printing code right there. I can't really make it out. If ... hold on. What is that? That looks like Python. Yeah, it got an if else statement. It looks like Python. Yep, if name, yep, name equal to name. Yeah, that's Python. Do this. So if this, that's funny. Looking at this, if this is equal to this and not any other random value, do this. Execute this. Execute this. Yep, and that's the method. And then it's gonna print that. Yeah, it's crazy.
Are not very well known. Well, to the extent that it can replace jobs, the first jobs it should be replacing are those new entry-level, simpler jobs.
A small collection of...
See, everybody just thinks like, and I'm not a person who says we can't have these entry-level jobs, because Sam Altman, or Sam Bankman or Sam Altman, had talked about universal basic income, and I was gonna pull up a thing about it. I might do it after this video if I stop talking long enough, but universal basic income is coming. We're already doing that in a way with food stamps and shit like that. Whenever the government gives you something for absolutely nothing, that's a form of them giving to you to like help you survive. But what happens when we don't need everybody working? You know, we're gonna have to pay people to just live. And I don't even know how that's going to happen. I know how these people are going to live. We're going to go back to all these downtown buildings that 10, 15 stories high that don't have nobody in them, they're going to gut them out, and they're going to create, they're going to have to create, what do you call that shit? They're going to have to create apartments for them. Shout out to whoever in the chat, you know what I mean?
You ugly motherfucker.
They're going to have to create apartments for them, but you don't get there soon.
Industries are still adding workers.
You're still seeing resistance.
But again, I don't know when all this will happen. If I had to just honestly guess, when universal basic income here and like literally there's no job, you literally got a government job, maybe people being policed, the doctors and nurses, and then everybody else is kind of living like total recall, where everybody else is just at home living off of scraps and shit like that. I don't know what year that'll be, but if I had to guess, I'd probably say 50 years, about 40, 50 years from now. It'll be to the point where there's just nothing. You'll have 50% of the people in the country living like the Amish. The people who don't live in Amish, they'll live in these kind of internment camps, and they'll be working, doing something, cleaning or some shit like that. And you'll walk in, every door will be automated. There'll be cameras every 5 feet in the fucking country. And they just going to be telling you, hey, you did a good job cleaning the fucking floors, the streets with a broom. Here's your meal for today. You get to eat another day.
In the healthcare space and in the leisure and hospitality space. Those two sectors are upholding the labor market, but there is increased evidence that over the next 6 months, there might be more weakness out of these two sectors as well. Less than half of the private sector is adding jobs, and manufacturing would be one of the key industries. But we're also seeing increased softness in construction activity, a telltale sign that housing activity is experiencing a slowdown. We're seeing businesses being more cautious with who they hire, how much they hire, and also in some cases proceeding with strategic layoffs.
See, it goes back to what I just said. At least in my opinion, I could be wrong, but the job can't hire more people because they can't pay for those people to work there. The reason they can't pay for those people to work there is because the government is not either giving them enough resources or money, or they can't secure a loan good enough to account for all of those people that they want to hire. The reason they can't get that loan for the people they want to hire is because the government isn't getting enough resources from the W-2 workers to provide for those industries. So the job can't hire because they're not getting enough money from the government. The government can't give the job that because the government's not getting enough money from the employee. The employee can't give them that amount of stuff because the job, the employer isn't upping the wage. So the government, if I make $100 a week, the government needs to take 10%. Well, I'm just using a vague number. That is a lot. But let's say they need to take 15 instead of 10. Well, they can't take 15 out of 10. They would be able to do it, but they can't do that because my employer is not raising my pay. My pay is not going up. My cost of living is going up. The cost of food and all that's going up, but my pay isn't going up. So I can't give them, you can't get what I ain't got. So, I mean, it is what it is, man. It's just sad. And I feel real sad when I hear like stories of, because I met somebody at one of the places I worked who had a restaurant, and they shit went out of business when COVID happened. And it was sad, it was like to the point where I almost cried just hearing the story. It was like, man, I had this restaurant for so long and it was loved and shit like that. It was a small restaurant, but it paid, and it paid me enough, and I was able to survive. Like I was good off of it. But COVID happened, blew it up. I was like, damn, man. Sad. Whole restaurant gone. You know what I mean? And ain't nothing nobody can do. Ain't no amount of tears that can be shed to get his restaurant back. There ain't nobody dropping $300,000 so he can get back up and run. Like there's none of that. It's just gone. Just fucking gone. And he's working a different job. You know what I mean? Doing some other shit that he never really did. You know, he grew up loving to cook, and it's just sad. But you know, ain't like I said, ain't nothing I can do about it. But I do feel sad when people go.
The Fed's interest
like
rate
that.
policies also contribute to today's labor market slowdown. These interest rates influence Americans' job prospects and the pace of price increases. Lowering them can mean more jobs and more inflation. Raising them may mean less inflation and slower economic growth. The Fed took interest rates into restrictive territory in the first quarter of 2023. Since then, they've held the target for the federal funds rate high, relative to the so-called neutral interest rate of around 3%. In other words, the Fed's past decisions are restricting today's economic growth.
Nonetheless, with policy in restrictive territory, the baseline outlook and the shifting balance of risks may warrant adjusting our policy stance.
Historically, it's the case that as the Fed tightens and starts to contain inflationary pressures, that eventually puts downward pressure on the labor market. It was the case that June actually saw negative payrolls, which is the first time that's happened since December of 2020.
I think the Fed is cutting from a place where it believes it has room to be wrong. Fed policy is best designed to address cyclical issues. If it's cyclical, the Fed over time should be able to nudge us back onto the path, but it can't change the path.
Businesses that see lower interest rates could be motivated to hire more workers.
A lot of it boils down to confidence. If I'm going to be facing relatively less restrictive interest rate policy, I can plan for that in the future and say, well, my burden here on the debt side is going to go down a little bit, but my business is still relatively strong. I can take that extra risk and make that investment in an individual or in some kind of technology.
Lower interest rates have many other effects too. For example, saving rates on bank deposits may fall.
Saving rates, savings accounts rates. I don't really understand this because 12-month certificate of deposit 2.4%, high yield 1.73. Just a savings account. I don't know if it says savings account rate. You don't get shit out of a savings account. You get what, 3% at the most when in a savings account. Like a high yield savings account, I guess you can get more. They say 1.73. Maybe that's just the average, but I know if you go to that, what is that called? Betterment. I think they high yield savings account is what, I want to say something like 6%, something like that. I mean, that's quite a bit of money, you know, but that's better than 2-3% or this 1.73. If that's I'm assuming this is an average. Yeah, national averages. You know what I mean? So 1.73 ain't shit, you know. You put $100 in the bank, and then out of the next what on the on a yearly basis, you get what, $1.73 the next year? Fuck out of here, bruh. That's not shit. That's nothing.
Financing costs for a mortgage or car loans could move lower as well, but only if Treasury bond yields follow the Fed.
Nah, I never understood the bonds and shit like that, cause I just don't get why. To be perfectly honest, I just don't understand how they use bonds, government bonds. I just don't understand. Of course, I get the cash, I get the capital, I get interest rates and shit like that. I don't understand the purpose of a bond, if that makes any sense.
Long-term rates are incorporating a wider array of factors, which include a large budget deficit, which include trade policy uncertainty and tariffs, which include higher inflation. And as a result, they're not moving as low as the Fed funds rate is likely to move over the course of the next year.
It's a highly political situation. It's totally rigged. Smart people know it.
The slow pace of hiring is political trouble for the president. Experts say his policies could be contributing.
Manufacturing or construction or trade and transportation, those industries have been under the most pressure with hiring. Facts of like that definitely point to the policy environment, having a pretty serious and direct impact on labor.
This what I don't appreciate. I get it. You everybody wants to, when shit hits the fan, everybody wants to find somebody to put it on. Cool, you can put it on Donald Trump. I say don't. I don't. The reason I say don't put it on him is because everything happened before him. And I'm not saying this even is a Joe Biden thing. Everything happens before him. This isn't a Donald Trump problem. He didn't create the problem. He's only trying to manage the problem that's already created. This isn't a Joe Biden problem. He didn't create the problem. He's only trying to manage a problem that was already here. You got to take this shit back to when it first went left. I'm going to just say at least 60, 70 years ago, in my fucking estimate. That's what I would say. You know what I mean? Or at least back to like 2008, you know what I mean? Because my family, like the home I grew up in, I graduated in 06. And my parents lost their home in 06. So that's right around that 06 to 09, 010, like all that is the recession shit. So my family home that I grew up in went up in, it didn't go up in flames, but we had to get out of it. So I would say at least go back to that point. But if you say, all right, well, the problem that happened in 2008 happened before then, like somebody let people do that and then it got so bad that 2008 happened. Well, then go back to that time period. What time period is that? I don't know. I would guess late 90s, so maybe early 2000s. That's just my guess. But I don't think this is a Donald Trump problem. He didn't create this shit. Neither did Joe Biden. This isn't a red or blue problem. This is we went left so fucking long ago that now we just now realize. Shout out to J. Cole. He has a song called Love Yours. And in the song he says, the good news is you came a long way. The bad news is you went the wrong way. And that can be more true of a bar than anything else in the world right now. We came so far from sticks and stones, fighting these wars with fucking muskets and, having 50% of the country, like the only job you had was farming and industrial shit. And now we got so many millionaires and people who created businesses and got loans and did so many great things. And that's beautiful that people have been able to do that. But the bad news is that was the wrong way. We went wrong so long ago. And it's literally like when you walking down the path, you had a fork in the road and you chose a direction and you walked down it. You went so far down that path just for you to look up and see, damn, it's a dead end. So to double back and do it the right way means, it's going to be painful. I mean, it's going to be depressing to go back and do it the right way. So what do we do as humans? We just try to figure out, all right, well, we at the end of this road that we went. So we trying to figure, man, it's too long to go back. Why don't we just hike this shit up through the forest, through the woods? And that's what I think America's doing right now. We went wrong so far, so long ago, that now America's just like, well, let's just hit this shit on foot, see how far we can get.
It's not as much a monetary policy issue, but you could also argue that some monetary policy, easing and accommodation, could help at the margin for sure.
Come on, man.
Then there's immigration.
Reduced immigration is curbing labor supply, and reduced immigration
could help at the margin for sure.
Then there's immigration.
Trump's immigration policy may be shrinking labor force. See, and this is why I say you can't even believe nothing. They're all salesmen. Even the people that these big media companies, they're all lying. So let me get this straight. Before Trump even got in the presidency, the first time, he was telling you about kicking out illegal immigrants. The first time he got president. He came, fixed that, and then, he got everybody out from the Middle East, got them here. So Biden's in office, illegal immigrants come in the boatload under his office, whatever. Now Trump's back in there, and now Trump has always been on, man, I'm trying to get these people out. So now, and there has been people that he's gotten out, right? So now you're telling me Trump's immigration policy may be shrinking labor force? Economists say. The only way I could see that happening is if you're telling me that these people are actually getting legally hired by employers. In that case, it's not on Trump, it's on the employer for hiring illegals. But I understand why the employer would hire illegals. Shit, if something costs $30 an hour and I can get it for 15, bruh. Like, that's called a contract. That saves me $15. If I had to pay somebody 30 and I can pay somebody else 15, my guy, I'm gonna go with the 15. You know what I mean? That's a steal. That keeps money in my pocket. Half these people are based on performance anyway. If I save the company millions of dollars through employment and labor, which is the largest cost to any company, if you have a business, you will know that your biggest expense is going to be your labor. If I can save on that, why wouldn't I do that? But that's not a Trump issue. It's a job issue. You can't blame Trump for companies hiring illegals. That's the only way this headline makes sense. Let me see what they say.
Reduced immigration is curbing labor supply, and
reduced immigration is curbing labor supply. What the fuck do immigration and labor supply have to do with anything? You make it seem like all the people who are going to bring stuff here, like all the people who are going to create products and stuff that we import into the country are sneaking in illegally. Labor and import, as far as illegals is concerned, have shit to do with each other. We don't even use the same country for that process. Everything you buy in this country is imported from China. What the fuck does illegal immigrants from Mexico have to do with us getting stuff from China?
Reducing the so-called break-even rate, the rate at which the unemployment rate starts to increase.
You could think that over time, domestic unemployed or native-born unemployed people could...
Okay. See, this is why I say these people are fucking salesmen. Native-born. Just say Americans. Just say Americans. What is up with all this flowery... Bruh, just say American. If they're born here, they're American. That's it. What is this native born bullshit? I don't need to know anything about somebody being native born. Are you from America? You're American. You see what I'm saying?
Take the jobs of immigrants. Stick unemployed. You could think that over time, domestic unemployed or native-born unemployed people could take the jobs of immigrants. Some of these jobs that are taken by immigrants are jobs that historically employers have found are not ones that are taken by native-born people.
Okay, so we're talking about, again, back to what I said, we're talking about the employer. That is an employer problem. It is not a president problem. That's not, bruh. Who, if a company hires illegals, that is not on the president's. That's not the president's fault. That's not his fault. The employer has to be valuable enough that people want to work for the employer. If not, the employer will cease to exist. Innovate. This ain't got shit to do with the president. This is everybody in everybody's life. You got to innovate. Somebody can be massively obese. Let's just use somebody massively obese as an example. I'm not saying you got to give up what you like to eat. I'm not saying you got to give up your habits. But if you're going to be skinny, you have to figure out a way to innovate. You got to figure out a way to get around some of your limitations. This is even with me in my life. You know? I am somebody who suffers from significant vision impairment. And I'm trying to get into tech with a whole bunch of screens and whiteboards and shit like that. I have trouble reading small print. There are tools that I can use. There's dark readers, there's magnifiers, there's text to speech. Thankfully I don't have to use text to speech and shit like that. But for the people who do have them, they're innovating. There are ways around it. If there's not something already that there for you to use, you have to create something. So back to the job. If the job can only hire illegal immigrants to do, and they show picture of people fucking picking whatever the fuck it was, that's not on the president's fault. That's not the president's fault, at least in my eyes. The president didn't tell an employer to pay $3 an hour for that job. That employer did. And if the employer can't find people to do it, fuck it. That's on the employer's fault. Innovate. That's how it works. That's how it works. Everybody loves using Netflix. Netflix is lit. Don't get me wrong. Netflix is lit. But Blockbuster was equally as lit. And where's Blockbuster at? Blockbuster died a long time ago. Kids don't even know what Blockbuster was. You know, I told my daughter about it before because she was like, just on Netflix. I was like, did you ever hear about, my oldest daughter, you ever heard about Blockbuster? She's like, no, and I had to pull up a spot. I said, so you go to Netflix on your TV, but when I was your age, we had to do this. And I showed a Blockbuster. You walk in, all of the DVDs and shit are on the wall. And she's like, yeah, let's say I want to go find Shrek or whatever the hell we gonna watch. I literally gotta walk the aisles, find it, take the copy, go up to the counter, and they're gonna put the DVD in the copy, and then I gotta bring it back, or they're gonna charge me for it. And she's like, you had to do all that? And I was like, well, our parents did, but yeah, that's how we got down. Blockbuster didn't innovate. They didn't figure out a way to switch their business model or whatever when all the website shit came up. So what happened to them? They're dead and gone. Radio Shack the same way. Low to medium tier electronics, not at a premium because they're low to medium tier. Well, then Amazon was like, fuck it, or Walmart was like, well, we can just pick up that business and just add the shipping costs, the extra shipping. We got billions and trillions of dollars at our disposal. Radio Shack don't have that amount of money. They can't go liquid or go into a business online that fast. You know, it just becomes money at that point. If you got more money, you can pay your dollar cost average, and you can pay to get whatever. If I create something and it costs me $500 to make it because I'm buying it like one at a time, and you got millions of dollars, well, you can beat me out. All you gotta do is throw millions of dollars in it and get your costs down to $200. Now it costs you $200 to get what I gotta take $500 to get, and I can't beat you at that point because I ain't got all the fucking millions of dollars to get it down to your price. You gotta innovate. Gotta find some way to innovate. So that employer has to find some way to innovate, or lose. You know, I'm not saying I want that for the employer, but that's what the employer has to figure out. This ain't got nothing to do with Donald Trump or Joe Biden or nobody. This is on the employer.
As the labor market deteriorates, prices are still increasing at a faster pace than the Fed's target rate. That makes an interest rate cut somewhat risky. Despite this, President Trump is pressuring the Fed to prop up the economy with lower interest rates.
I really worry about the financial integrity of the Fed, much more than the financial integrity of the BLS. If we lose the institutional integrity of the Fed, we're going to step back in a major way in terms of good economic outcomes.
And let's not forget, we're coming off of an environment where inflation has been very high post-pandemic, and many people are still struggling to make ends meet.
We also have to look at this in the context of
and this is ultimately why I say this whole idea of even people in the dating space, and I know I started making the pot of balloon videos and shit like that, and here's what I'll say on it. The reason why I say people aren't fucking honest is because literally people will go on that show and say, I'm an entrepreneur, and they work a regular 9-to-5 job, an office job. Like, when y'all keep lying to yourselves, you're lying to other people. And the more and more everybody keeps doing this, they're going to keep going down that wrong direction. And they're just going to be left out the ass. And I realized that in my life, because I was like, I told y'all, whoever is watching me, like I told you that in 2023 I was fucked up and I was crying out, and I was in a really bad spot mentally, and I didn't know what to do. And so, I'm sitting here praying and I'm talking to God as much as I can, and then what I got back from God was like, bro, you sitting here, you put yourself in the jail. Like, you put yourself in that mental capacity. I didn't tell you to do it. I didn't even encourage you to do it. And God just showed me, bruh, that gate is open, bruh. You not in jail. You backed yourself into a corner and realized it's dark in there. But you weren't mentally ready enough to realize that you're not caged in there. It's just dark in there. Well, you can get out of that. Just get out of it. Now, I'm not saying he is plain as day, but get out of it. Do what you need to do to get out of it. You're not stuck. You're confused. That's two different things. Once the confusion went away, I was like, oh, well then now I don't have to just live this way. I don't have to have the same viewpoint. I don't have to be quiet. I don't have to do it your way. I don't have to go down the path you want to, you know what I mean? I can give my piece. I can say my part. I can, and it ain't even like I'm right or wrong, Most of the things I talk about in life are subjective anyway, So that's why I tell people all the time. Like, I told my homie, I had a conversation about a vasectomy with my homie before. He was like, man, don't get a vasectomy. Don't get a vasectomy. It's like, what? And he was low-key like clowning me for getting a vasectomy. I was like, bro, I am married and I got 3 kids. And you telling me don't get a vasectomy? Why? He said, man, God ain't create you to have that. Goofy ass nigga, you got multiple kids by multiple women. God ain't create that, bro.
You ugly motherfucker.
No. So how you gonna tell me God didn't create you to have multiple kids by multiple women, and you worrying about me getting a vasectomy? If anybody should get one, it should be you. Like what are we doing? You see what I'm saying? Like, people, man. So I say that to say, man, do what's in your best interest. My homie should have did that. Do what's in your best interest. Maybe you wouldn't have had it. You won't have random baby mamas if you just did that. I'm not saying you can't get no pussy, because I'm a grown man too. I'm gonna get my meat wet too, but I'm not about to just be out here kids everywhere, bruh. You ain't gotta go it your way, bruh. And if that's the way you want to do it, like I always say, I'll see you at the top. Best of luck to you. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna be the person like this person in the camera, penny pinching off these things. Because I realize most of that shit you don't even need, bruh. Look at the cost. $1 here, $1.42, $1.25, bruh. You don't even need all that shit, bruh. Outside of food and your basic shelter, bruh. Niggas want diamonds. Don't get me wrong, because I want all that same goofy shit too. But I'm not about to go run myself ragged to get it. And I'm not about to sit on the sideline and not try to better myself by learning a fucking skill, um, creating content, learning how to create content better, writing a book, fucking working on a business idea. I'm not about to just be stuck. Getting confused is a natural part of life. But getting stuck, bruh, getting stuck means you're not going nowhere. You know what I mean? Being in bumper to bumper traffic is cool, but being in gridlock traffic, that's not cool. That means you're not going nowhere. You're stuck. You know what I mean? Going at it slow until you learn how to go at it faster or get sharper and all that, that's cool. You're making progress, but just staying still, nah, I can't do that.
Of an economy that is more supply shock driven. And when you have a more supply shock driven environment, you are just definitionally, the Federal Reserve or any central bank just has less power in being able to combat inflation and also being able to help the labor market.
If the Fed is wrong here and it's cutting interest rates into an inflationary environment, then the impact could be negative for many people in the sense that you would have higher inflation, and that would really hurt a lot of people. The U.S. job market is very dynamic. The trouble right now is that tax policy, immigration policy, tariff policy are all in flux, and so it makes it very difficult for businesses to adjust. Once things settle down, if the government backs out and gets out of the way of the free market, U.S. companies should create the jobs for those who need them.
I mean, it sounds good in theory, but I mean, who are they creating the jobs for, you know? These jobs, I mean, they're not paying now. I don't see a time point in the near future where they're going to be able to just fucking pay. But again, what do I know? I'm not King Dingaling anyway, so what do I know? But anyway, with that being said, I did want to go into this video from shout out to A Homestead Journey, you know what I mean?
I'm finna go deep inside. Yeah. Just leave them nuts hanging out. Yeah.
Shout out to her, you know what I mean? She got this one video. I was watching a bit of it. No, not the food crisis one. Damn. I like watching her content because it's like a collage of most things. Which one? Damn, they both got the same amount of time. It could have been the cost. I think it was this one.
One of the biggest trends that's going on in social media right now is not people showing all of the glamorous moments of their life, basically selling you their highlight reel and making people envious. They're actually sharing about the struggles they're going through and how they are feeling like they are checking out because they can't afford what's going on in their lives. They can't afford the bills. They can't afford the cost of living. And everyone is feeling crushed by these rising prices.
I'm about to lose my shit. I am about ready to blow a gasket. I swear, I am. I just got off the phone with my mortgage company, right? Because they called me. I was like, why did my mortgage company call me? I'm up to date on everything. Everything's cool, right? You know, I just checked my bank account to make sure the payment came out. I actually sent them $890 instead of $840, which, you know, is what I'm supposed to send them. And they called me up, and I'm like, yeah, what's going on? They were like, well, Mr. Hayes, we're calling to let you know that as of November 1st, your mortgage payment's going to be going from $840 a month to $991 a month. And I was like, for what? They're like, well, you're $900 short in escrow. And I was like, what do you mean?
Right. Got him right off
I'm $900 short in escrow. How is that possible? How? Explain this to me. They go, well, your homeowner's insurance went from $2,600 a year on up to $3,400 a year. I said, for what? I haven't had any claims. I haven't had any issues or pop up or anything like that. What do you mean? Why has it gone up so much? Well, Mr. Hayes, you're going to have to call your insurance company for that. So now I'm going to have to call my insurance company to find out why in the my insurance went up so much to cause my mortgage payment to go from $841 a month to $991 a month. I'm barely making it as it is right now. Barely. We ain't doing bad, but we ain't doing great. What the man?
Well, I've hit my breaking point. I literally cannot afford to live, pay bills, or any of this shit.
See, and here's the thing, like, I agree, people are all hurting financially, but at the same time, and this is why I like CGA's content so much. And shout out to CGA, you know what I mean?
You ugly motherfucker.
The reason why I love his content so much is because I told y'all in 2023, like, well, it was 2022, but it was 2022, right? It was 2022, but it was toward like the middle of 2022. Like, I was having all these surgeries, and I was starving for like just a spark of life. Like, I was just starving for, like, how am I going to make it through this? Like, because I have responsibilities. I got a family. I got this. I got that. And I was always watching CJ, but like I said, God got me through it, and He let me know that I'm gonna be alright. You know what I mean? Not getting hit. You know, you gotta like swing back. You just can't dodge getting hit. Because you're gonna tire yourself out from doing that. Yeah, you're not gonna get hit, but you're not gonna tire. You're gonna tire yourself out. So you're gonna have to swing back. You're gonna have to fight back. And but the reason why I bring up CJ is because CJ always puts it like the same people that say they can't afford it, the same people with all these extravagant things in life, and it can't be further from the truth. Like um it can't be more spot on than that, not further from the truth. Bruh, y'all people be having all these luxuries of life, and I'm 37, and I always thought, man, yo, am I not performing right? Am I not like the person I'm supposed to be? Did I really fuck up and stuff like that? Then I realized, bruh, that's how most people get it. Most people get to that point where they're gonna mentally grow, and then from that, every other type of growth happens. But when I watch videos and I watch people say they can't afford things, it'd be the same people like who have like all these fast ass, extravagant ass cars, and even so much so that I've told people, bruh, you need a car, go get you a bucket, bruh. Go get you a little $3,000 to $5,000 car. It's gonna be good for a year to 2 years. Ride that joint till the wheels fall off. Save all that money that you would be saving in the form of a payment, and you can get yourself out of debt. But again, nope. They went and got themselves a car payment, and a big one at that. So I'm like, man, you just 6 months in, something happens to the car, and now they can't afford it because they're spending so much on the car payment. It's like, bruh. And I'm not saying I know everything, because again, like, I'm a dumbass. I'm just a half blind dude on the internet talking shit at the end of the day. But one thing I know is that everything that I've seen people kind of like talk about, and the debts and the things like when you want to do good and you want to try to appease people, and you want to try to, like, you want to give so much to everybody else, and you don't take care of yourself first, I realize it all comes to a head, bruh. It's all fun and games as long as you're doing what they want you to do. And this could go from everything from your spouse to your friends to your family members. And then I realized, man, fuck all that. And that's why my overarching message on my shit is always, bruh, selfishness is a blessing, bruh. If you can be selfish, that consider that a blessing, bruh. Because everybody else is going to be that same way. You know what I mean? I've had people that I've looked out for who fucked me over. I've had people who I've literally helped. You know what I mean? Be overly disrespectful and shit like that, and just because I don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want to enable them and they BS. You know what I mean? And it's just funny that when you get to that point and you realize, then you can say, all right, well, now it's just time for me to do what I need to do for myself and not worry about nobody else, because everybody else is worried about. And honestly, you don't get mad and become that way. You realize that way is the only way to be. Because now I'm sitting here thinking, like, you think about all these dudes in the hood shooting and stuff like that. Like, bruh, if everybody does what they need to do for themselves in life, then people who are used to getting help will realize nobody else is going to take care of them. Nobody else is going to help them. When then they're going to think, well, I got to do for myself. And so then they're going to realize, well, I can't do this. I can't have this bad habit. I can't do this. I can't think that way. I can't do this, that, and the fourth. And then they get better. And then the people around them get better. And it's only when people realize they have to do for themselves first that that's the way everybody's going to get out of it. Then that way you can have a family. Then that way you can you don't have to worry about everybody else. And people don't realize it when everybody's do what they need to do for themselves instead of doing things for other people. Every other amenity in life gets cheaper because now you don't have everybody just going to buy a fucking brand new iPhone every year. Bro, iPhone been coming out with the same iPhone, just different things, right? Different features of the iPhone. Some of them are based on new technology. Others of them are just really based on computing power of the phone. And instead of them just telling you they have an update for your phone and just putting that new software on your older gen phone, they'll just sell you a new phone for no reason. But if everybody realized, no, we're not going to do that goofy shit no more. We're going to stay with one phone and you're just going to fix this phone over and over again. And everybody stop buying from Apple. Then Apple will realize, oh, well, we can't fleece them like that no more. And we got to do what's in their best interest, but nobody does it. So, yeah, man, it's crazy.
And why the am I alive? Like, I almost just bawled my eyes out inside a Walmart because I realized that I literally cannot afford to live. What the is wrong with our economy?
It's too late. And I'm not blaming her. I'm just saying, like, it was cooked 70 years ago, man. It was cooked 70 years ago. It was cooked way back when. Way back when. People wonder why people have, like, we have kids with autism and we have everybody's got diabetes and now everybody's got a gluten allergen and everybody's allergic to peanuts and everybody's allergic to this type of fabric and all that type shit. The reason why all that stuff happened is because 80 years, I don't know the exact year, but so long ago, we start putting chemicals in food. And eventually those chemicals are in our bodies. And then we have babies with other people and it goes in their bodies. So on and so forth. And then we put other new chemicals in there. Because somebody tells us we got Pop-Tart chemicals in our body. Now we got chips chemicals in our body. Now we have this in our body. And we have that in our body. And of course, it's going to come out in death, decay, disease, all that shit. But if we just stuck to the natural stuff of this earth, we wouldn't have all them damn problems. But again, what do I know? And I'm not saying I know everything because, again, you know, I'm not saying I'm better than, remember.
I do not look down on niggers, kikes, wops, or greasers. Here you are all equally worthless.
On this channel, we are all equally worthless. So I am the same way too. I will fuck a Pop-Tart up, bruh. I will eat the shit out of a Pop-Tart. So I'm no better but I'm just explaining how it happens. But nobody lives natural. But hey, it is what it is.
Like, what? What? It's either like this is my weekly life. It's either eat, pay money to eat, or don't pay other bills, or pay bills and don't eat, or
how about we just eat and go without the other bills? Because we don't have to have those other bills. Because if you stop eating, you're not gonna die. Because you actually should stop eating. You should fast. I tell everybody to fast. I actually told DA, shout out to my boy DA Devil's Advocate. I told him to start fasting. And it's worked wonders for me. Like, just I done a 3-day fast, something like that, and man, I felt great. I felt more mentally clear, and I want to challenge myself to do longer fasts. I know a guy who said he's like once a day for like every 3 or 4 days, and I was like, damn, bro. He said he's been doing that way the last 20 some odd years. He's 70. He looks like he's 50. It's like, damn. I met a boxer when I worked in loss prevention at Kmart before, and there was this Corvette pulled up, this red Corvette back in the day, clean, and this guy hopped out of it. I was like, damn, man, it was loud. He had a nice big gold chain on. I was like, yeah, man, what you do? He was all smiling, looking like what's the dude from the Gap Band, Charlie Wilson, and I said, yeah, man, what you do? He had a head full of hair. He's like, yeah, I'm a retired boxer. I said, retired? What, you just retired? He's like, nah, I've been retired. I was like, all right, look like you still throw him. He said, yeah, I still throw him. I retired like 20 years ago. I said, damn, how many fights did you do? He said, I did a whole bunch. He said, how old do you think I am? I said, bro, you probably like 50. He said, dude, I'm about to be 80. I was like, damn. He was like, I'm about to be 80. I said, ain't no way. I was like, I ain't no way, bro. I said, I can say you probably, maybe you close to like mid 65. He's like, bro, damn near pulled his license out. Show me he was like 77. I was like, damn, bro, you look 50. Head full of hair, all black, still black, very, very little grain. He said, yeah. And I said, how? Just how? He said, eating and fasting. He said, never drunk alcohol in my life. Always got rest. Stayed out of stress, and I just worked out. I say, bruh. So I know what the wonders of it can do. But yeah, man. In her situation, you ain't gotta have all that extra shit you going out with. I look back at all the things I bought over the years that I didn't need. That if I just had that money back now, how much better off I'd be. I used to play airsoft. If y'all don't know, I used to play airsoft. I was real big in it. Real big into it. And I probably spent, back when I lived in out Seattle, man, I had to probably drop like, three and a half, 3.5 into just gear and BBs and shit all through the years over it. And I don't even have none of that shit no more. I just stopped playing out of it. Now, I realized why, and I was moving and shit like that, but man, I just realized, bro, this shit it's not even worth it, bro. This shit it's just sad, but it is what it is.
Like, it's just, like, I have to ask my parents to help me to survive because I have no money.
Hit the like button, man.
Because all my money goes to bills. How?
Nah, see, that's a crazy thing. All her money going to bills, but I mean, we gotta stop. We gotta go without. Remember, I said subtracting will get you further ahead in life than acquiring. Because you're going to waste so much time, so much money trying to acquire something when all you had to do was subtract something. You know? So many people focus on acquiring. And I did too. And I'm not telling you don't acquire, because if you can get a Bentley for $1,500 instead of $200,000, get you a Bentley for $1,500. But what I'm saying is, you will realize just in life, if you subtract the bad habits, all the extra things you spend money on, and all that money you got back. I used to smoke blacks, Black and Miles. I used to smoke weed all the time, cigarettes. Imagine all that money I just spent all through the years if I just had it right now. And I smoked from maybe 18 to... Well, when I met my lady, I didn't smoke like heavy. I smoked like socially, like when I was at work and shit like that. On my lunch breaks, I'd go hit a Black and Mild or smoke a cig or something like that. But if I just had all that money back, you know how much money we talking from the age of 18 to now? We probably easily talking, especially as far as weed goes, because I used to smoke heavy weed. And I mean, I can go through, man, I don't even know. I can go through a zip in like 3 weeks. So what's that? 28 grams in like 3 weeks. $280 every 3 weeks on just weed alone. Imagine the papers and the amount of lighters that I brought. Bruh, we talking thousands of dollars a year. And then that's not even like being a cigarette smoker for them years that I was, smoking Black and Miles and shit like that. Like, imagine all that money, but that's easily, I'm saying that's easily 20, 25K. And I'd rather have that 25K from all that shit I've wasted right here in my hand. That'll do wonders for me. That'll get this damn business idea off the ground. But let's keep going.
Do people live like this?
Drop a comment, man. I see you in there watching. Quit ninja watching. Drop a comment, man.
And I'm just like, I don't even know what to do. Like, I almost think I need to move home because, like, I literally have no money to survive. Like, this is fucked. This is literally fucked. Why is the government and why are the states and why is all this shit built like this?
I'm about to lose everything, and I don't know what else to do besides come up here and vent because I'm at wit's end. For like over half a year, maybe a year now, I have been struggling to pay all my bills on time. And when I first moved into this apartment 5 years ago, that wasn't an issue at all. When it comes to monthly bills in general, my bills aren't as high as a lot of people who I know are struggling and making it happen. So I feel ashamed sometimes as a man or as a person that I can't come up with the bills. It's frustrating. My educational background is an actor, and originally I was in LA before the pandemic trying to figure out how to make that a career, and COVID kind of brought me back to Philadelphia. When it comes to acting, what I love, what I dream, I can't pay my bills off of that. And to supplement my income, I drive Uber. Now, when I first started driving Uber, like in a weekend, Friday to Sunday, it would be easy to make, $700, let's say on average, 5 to 7, maybe 8, maybe 4, depending on how busy it was. But, I was able to get by. And unfortunately, every year, as the cost of groceries and electricity and everything has been going up, the amount that I've been able to make off of Uber has been going down. It seems like they'll charge somebody $40 and then they offer the person who's driving an Uber $12. If they charge someone $60, they offer the person who's driving for Uber $16. It's crazy how much money they take.
They got you. Not they got you, they got us. And it's the reason why I say you can't even be mad at like our parents did us in, because our parents enabled the big boom of government came from our parents and our parents' parents. Well, I can't even say our parents' parents because a lot of people were descendants of slaves, but for the ones who weren't, I don't know what percentage of the country wasn't slaves or whatever like that. However, and this goes for white people too. When I say our parents, I don't mean black exclusively. I mean everybody who's 35 and up, 35 to 50, your parents are the ones who started this process. And because nobody sat their ass down and, put a Glock in their mouth and said, we not doing this, it just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And more people, and then they started doing nepotism, and then they started bringing their homies in on it, and then they started hoarding money and giving it to their kids so their kids could take equestrian fucking riding horses for summers instead of learning how to do anything. And they didn't need to learn how to do anything because mommy and daddy had all the money. The only thing they needed to learn, the son or daughter, was to be a salesman. That's why I said it all comes down to being salesman, being wordy with your mouth, knowing how to talk, knowing how to shoot the shit, knowing how to network, and then boom, you got a job in a mayor's office, or boom, you're city councilman, or boom, you're sheriff straight out of an academy, or you're a detective straight out of academy, 5 years in, you're sheriff or whatever like that, or boom, you're police commissioner, or boom, you got junior law, you're studying law while you're in high school because all your high school teachers are going to pass you through. They realize you know everything you need to know. So boom, you're lawyer. You don't have to work at a law firm being a public defender, probably making 75, 80K a year. No, you get straight into a medium to higher tier law office. Or boom, your daddy gets you in government. Or boom, you go to the military and you grind NCO, so you're in often candidate school right after boot camp or right after your whatever AIT or whatever. You see what I'm saying? That's how mommy and daddy and them, not our parents, their parents, that's how they did it. And they were for the ones who were blessed. But everybody else, it was just, they just told our parents what to do and our parents did it. Our parents just did this shit. And now here we are, umpteen years later, the men can't love the women and the women can't love the men because they both have this goofy ass idea of what the other person's supposed to do for them, and none of it's based in any type of religion at all. Because you're not the only thing life guarantees is death. That is it. That is the only thing every heart will encounter is death. Now, some of us will make $1 million. Some of us will get a baby mama. Some of us, will have a disease. I don't know. Some of those things maybe you can dodge with like how good you are as a person or where you live or shit like that. But you can't even control that for the most part. Because you can make money and lose it. Only thing you know you're going to experience is death. So until you meet that death day, that's why I say do what's in your best interest. Take care of the things you need to take care of for yourself. And don't let anybody shame you out of it. Because everybody else is doing the exact same thing. They just want to shame you into doing it their way to help them. But meanwhile, the moment you push them up, they're going to let you go.
So it's become harder and harder to supplement my income with Uber. And I've gone to try to work for other jobs because of that. And like many of us, started blowing up my credit cards. So I maxed out all my credit cards and I can't make those payments. I'm struggling to pay the car payment, the car insurance, the rent.
There it go right there. Car payment, car insurance. Nobody told how much is the car payment. Sad, man. Sad. And I realized that because I always wanted, I never really was the person who had shit like that, like who had like a real high price, high ticket shit, but
electricity, the internet, the phone. I'm trying to keep up with all those bills and picking and choosing. And I'm starting to get to the point where it's like I'm months behind. I'm making payments.
And let me say this. This is the reason why the whole idea of a man just paying for a woman to sit on her ass in a home is not what a man is supposed to do by God. In fact, God never told any man to just do that for his wife. Because that's truly not how you're supposed to live. Funny how the man going to work and slaving away to take care of a wife who don't respect him or just doesn't listen to him, does what the fuck she want to do. Funny how God never told any man to do that. And the reason, I can't say for sure, so I'm only guessing. The reason I would guess the man, God didn't tell men to do that is because, one, the man isn't going to get what he needs in return. And two, it ain't even the sheer number of men to women ratio is always off. Always off. So even if God told every man to make a stay-at-home wife, fine. You still gonna have millions of women without a wife. So what do we do for them? You see what I'm saying? Like this whole idea of guys just slaving away and then a girl just reaps the benefits, like it's goofy. And this is only my opinion. I'm of the opinion that I know it's not in the Bible and can't nobody pinpoint it to me. And I dare somebody to try to find the verse where it says that's what the man does. And I know the man will work because they also didn't say the woman won't work. And what does work mean anyway? And all those people of the Bible, all those strong men and women of the Bible, their wives worked. Not jobs, because we didn't have corporate jobs back then. But they worked domestically or however the husband needed them to work. Some of those men were actually farmers, ranchers, or what do you call it, herdsmen? I don't know. They had animals and shit. So that was the wife's job to help churn butter or milk cows or clean stables, shit like that. Which is labor, and I'll just use labor in term of the word work. So, of course, it's not. Of course, this idea of a man just slaving away for a woman is false. But again, here this guy is in a situation, and let's say if he meets a woman and they could come together, but then the woman's going to be like, nah, well, you're not making me a stay-at-home wife. He's not supposed to, man. Now, does every man want to do that for his wife? Sure. If she is worthy of it, I guess. I don't really care, you know what I mean? But that's not a directive for a man to do. So it's just crazy that, like, you know, here is a guy a woman could come and they both could come together and share that cost to make things easier on themselves, to make sacrifices. But he's, and I don't know his financials and shit like that. I have my own bullshit I gotta work through. But I'm pretty sure he's not making the most sacrifices he probably can, But that's natural. All of us aren't, It is what it is. It's fucked up out here.
Payment plans, I'm trying to figure out what's most important, and it's all just like starting not to make sense. I try to keep optimistic in the midst of all that, though, and I'm applying for jobs. I got accepted. I'm good at like interviews. I crush them. When I get a chance to talk to somebody, often I get hired. But I got offered a job at Abercrombie & Fitch. They're gonna pay me $12 an hour. So I can't. That doesn't even make sense. So I don't.
I'm not saying and I'm not saying that $12 an hour ain't nothing. But what I'm saying is, see, people, and this is why CGA's boss up is so important. You also at the same time have to realize the $12 an hour isn't to belittle you. It's to get you to realize that it's not much that you need. You just need money coming in. When you only need a job coming in, you will realize then, well, all I need is a little bit of money. I don't need all this extra extravagant shit that people have. Now, I'm not saying don't try to hustle for that and don't grow your money, because you are going to be slowly pushed by inflation through your years of life. But what I'm saying is all the extra shit you don't have to pay for. So, prime example, let's say you make $20 an hour. Let's say you make $600 after tax every week, and your job, your house is gonna cost $1,200. So now you got $1,200 left on a monthly basis. Car insurance, $150, $200. Maybe you got a phone bill, and you're saving $600 on a monthly basis. That's outside of food, outside of your internet, outside of your phone, outside of you saving toward retirement from that job. If you're even doing it from there, just don't. But let's just say that's the example. You're saving $600 a month. Most people will get that $600 a month and then go burn it doing extravagant trips or doing this or doing that, when you could realize, well, if I just save the $600, maybe I can invest it in something that'll get me further. Or let's say I invested in myself and I take this course or class, and then boom, now I'm making $2,000 a week. But it took me $2,000 saved to even get into that course. Well, your 4 months of saving every dime to get into a course, you do the course, and then now you're making $100K. It only took $2,000 to do that. It took 4 months of nothing to make $100,000. And that's an extreme example, I know, but I'm just giving an example. Like, that's possible. Or you can just save the money and say, hey, I'm realizing that what is something that, I don't know, there's something that you want to create. You want to create I don't know, let's just say there was no fucking such thing as like a wireless charger. And you realize, well, I work at this electrical spot. I know how to amplify the wattage, and we have cords. How about I just save up 6 months of my thing, work on getting a prototype, and then boom, I got a wireless charger. Now I can go to investors and say, hey, throw me the money up front, take 20%, 30% of the business, whatever you willing to negotiate or willing to come up off. They give you the money up front. Now you in production. You got, in 2 months' time, you have 20,000 units of this wireless charger, and now you slinging them at $15 a pop, and you get to keep $4 out of every 15. But the rest of that money goes to them. Well, 200,000 units times 4, and you did all that in a year. You saved 6 months of your time, created a prototype, went to investors, got the money for them, and then damn, now another 6 months from the time you got your prototype, now you done cleared $800K, and now you just do a licensing deal or something like that, where now they take on all the management, all the R&D, the management, the shipping, customer service, and now you just retain $2 out of every unit sold. You got $800,000 up front. Your $2 out of every unit sold a year is $120,000, and you live off that. You see what I'm saying? But people don't put two and two together. And I'm doing that now. So it's not like I'm not better than most. I'm learning to do that now. I was no different than him. Before I was married, bruh, I wanted to go everywhere, taking little road trips with homies, going Virginia, shit like that. Bruh. Dealing with bras, I used to go to the club left and right, bruh. Trying to find a little broad, I can buy her a little sex on the beach for $12 and take her ass back to the hotel. Let's, you know what I mean? Boom. And you hit some, Or you just get numbers at the club and you meet the girls, take their ass to a movie and a dinner date, and then take their ass to the hotel. Because I was staying with, when I was staying with my parents, and I stayed with my right-hand man and helping his family and shit like that, his aunt. And it was me, him, and his aunt. And he lived with two aunts that, they needed help and shit like that. And I'm not about to just bring hoes and shit over there. But that's what we would do. Left and right. So I done did all the same goofy shit. So we with my brother, I done did all the same goofy shit. So that's where my experience comes in. I'm just being honest about the shit.
I'm at the point where it's like no job will pay me enough to cover my bills, and now my bills are so far behind. It's like I need $3,000 to fall from the sky, or I'm eventually gonna just like, I don't know, they're gonna repossess my car, or I'll get an eviction notice eventually. My girlfriend lives with me, man. She works 40 hours a week. She only brings in $2,000 a month. So
she's making $500 a week, which is fine. I don't know what that is. She's probably making anywhere from 17 to 20 something an hour. Fine, that's figure something out. Remember, I say subtract. You know what I mean? You can approach things from a chapter in my book where it says life's favorite numbers 2. Everything in life is either yin and yang. There's up and down, black and white, left to right, up and down, in and out. Guy, girl, you got testes, you got gonads on girl, like you got all this stuff. You got 2 eyes, 2 ears. You got intake, outtake. You have so many different things. So life's favorite numbers too. So where your girl is only making that a little bit of money, fine. Maybe she can try to get more money, and you can try to get more money too, and that's what you're doing. Great. But you can also subtract the bullshit in y'all life. Go without it, and that saves you money. So if y'all got all this internet, and that internet is $70 a month, fuck the internet. Get rid of that shit. That extra $70 a month you could save, just use that to help pay off your car faster. You go without internet in the house, that's when you can go do push-ups instead of watching TV. Or you can do some work on a course. You know what I mean? Or just sleep, rest. Learn how to do something else. Maybe don't get rid of the internet, but something else that you're doing. That PlayStation. Let go of that shit. Let go of these things, but it is what it is.
I pay our bills. I'll go work. I'll do Uber. I'll go get us some food, and then we wait for that paycheck, and then she throws it at whatever bill she can, and then I try to feed us and keep us running until she gets paid again, and that's not working out. So I keep doing auditions. I'm trying to apply to be a firefighter right now. I Uber every day right now. It's Wednesday. I drove around from 7 till 11 and made $20. So I don't know what to do.
Here I am. It is 11:45 at night on a Wednesday. I'm sitting on my bathroom floor because I feel like I'm going to have a literal mental breakdown. How are people surviving? How are we doing this? Like, single people specifically. Single people in their late 20s that live in a city. How the are you surviving? Tell me. Please, please. I am 27 years old. I live on my own in Philadelphia. I'm a woman. I went to school for 5 years. I have a bachelor's degree in digital marketing. I owned my own business for 9 years on top of that. And one, I can't find a job anywhere. I'm trying to utilize my degree. Can't find a job anywhere. I've been applying for months, almost a year. Can't. Nothing. 2, I'm struggling while living on my own. Struggling. Like, I can't even put food on my table. I can't even afford my bills.
And this is not a guy-girl thing. This is literally we all do it. Like I said, we're all equally worthless. This is guy, girl, black, white. You speak English, Spanish, it don't matter. All of us do the same shit. So where that other guy has probably a PlayStation that has all this extra shit that he pays for that he needs to go without for a while to figure out his thing and maybe get himself out of a situation, this girl could do the same thing, I'm pretty sure she has all that makeup and shit that girls wear. That shit is expensive. She might have to go without that. I don't know. But hey, man. With that being said, listen, It's 2025. We're approaching the end of 2025. We don't know what's coming around the corner next. All I will tell y'all is make sure y'all do what's in y'all best interest. Learn to subtract things in your life, and that'll free you up to be able to spring forward and get more things out of life. Realize that everybody's just fallible. Everybody's just out for their own. Everybody's not against you. They just are for themselves. And that's fine. Have no guilt. Have no remorse about being for yourself. Get what you need to get. Because at the end of the day, ain't nobody finna look out for your best interests. And that's just me keeping it 100 with you. I'm keeping it 1,000 with you. Ain't nobody finna do that. So, like I said, man, love y'all. Shout out to whoever this was, Ninja watching, you know what I mean? Shout out to you, you know what I mean?
You ugly motherfucker.
But anyway, I'm finna get up out of here, and I catch y'all boys back in the next one, man. Alright. So this streaming shit is even confusing. Start streaming, that's another thing that y'all can do. I tell all my subscribers, you ain't gotta watch me and not stream. Stream whatever you got going, stream it. You can do the gaming streaming if you got more of a bubbly personality. You know, life is pay to play, you know. Run some ads. You know. When I get my book done, I'm gonna have a Patreon, and I'm gonna probably drop chapters, you know, and put it up on Patreon and just have it like that. You know. Until it's finished and, you know, I got it all worked out and shit like that. Bruh. Y'all gotta figure something out in life. And I'm not telling you as if I got it, because trust me, if I told you all the shit I deal with on a daily basis, you'd be like, damn. But I'm doing something about it. Slowly but surely, you know, I'm about to get off this joint, and because I had some notes of what I wanted, the stories I'm telling in my book and things like that, and I want to get those at least charted out. So shout out to y'all. Love y'all, man. Take care of y'allself. Catch y'all boys back in the next one, man. Alright, so let's hop up off this thing. See, I can't even close it from this screen. Right here is where you would normally press end stream, but that's not even available. So I gotta end the stream from what is this? What do you call this shit? OBS. So I catch y'all boys back, man. In stream.